Hey folks, so I'm going to be using Inkarnate to create a military camp. In my world, um, there are a bunch of different races, so all the playable races are available, but for the most part, this military camp is going to reflect a joint operation. So the allies of the world who are together fighting the forces of evil under the Warsworn Guild. So the Warsworn Guild they have a huge part in fighting monsters and demons. They're kind of my version of the you know forces against evil, and like these are good forces. So these people are made up of different races, different classes, pretty much you name it. If you want to volunteer your time as a dragonborn or an orc or a human, whatever you choose to be, and you want to fight the forces of evil, this guild is, that's for you. So the Warsworn Guild, in this case, I am creating a camp, a military camp, an academy that is hosted by the dwarves of my world. So as you can see, right now I'm kind of just deciding what I'm wanting to do and what I'm wanting to choose. I have the overall picture, and I was inspired by the Marcus Heights book series, The Dwarves. In the last book, the dwarves, orcs, and I believe humans all rally together and ally. They become allies to fight these like demonic forces from the other side. So I thought, oh man, that's really cool. I kind of want to do something like that here where I'm going to showcase not only in the architecture, because as you can see here, this doesn't look like a dwarven, like that, Citadel Castle thing looks like it's a dwarven castle under the Inkarnate label, but the walls here don't necessarily look that way. They look more kind of human. They look pretty much everything but dwarven, just because of, again, the architecture is different. But I thought to myself, well, maybe it'd be pretty cool if I created architecture that's reflective of all the like races that kind of helped build this, right? That were instrumental in the building of this academy. So I decided to use those pieces over there, and again with Incarnate, it's really easy to do that. As you can see here, I'm just kind of clicking through and just kind of dropping and dragging things here, but this isn't going to be the final form to say the least. This isn't going to be the final map. What I'm planning on doing is creating many parts of it and then putting it all together. So essentially what I would do is that I would take whatever I create, whatever the final thing that I create here is going to be one portion, and then I'm going to create the other portion, or the other portions, excuse me, and I'll just go from there. So in this case, like I said, this is going to just be a lot of layering, right? I'm going to do this layer. This is kind of like the first draft, first layer, so to speak, and then I'll add and remove things that I don't want, and then go from there. But in this case, I decided really like, hey, I don't know if I want that Citadel thing there. It looks cool, but I don't think it makes sense to have it on this. It's really going to be the lower. If we're looking at a square map, it looks like the lower left hand corner. So I don't know if I want to create something that, you know, that's supposed to be a citadel, right? That's supposed to be of like huge importance. Maybe that's where like the commanding officers of the guild reside in. And I don't know about, I'm like, I don't know. I haven't I haven't gotten there yet, but it looks like a place of importance. So I thought to myself, okay, maybe what we can do is I can replace it with a fortress, with or the fortress icon from Inkarnate. So going back in, I grabbed this one just because, again, it looks like a really multi-purpose icon that I can use. Like, again, technically it's a fortress and it looks like that. Obviously it's got the walls, it's got the different, it's got your different quarters, it's got all that cool stuff. But this could actually be multi-purpose, right? It could serve as a training facility. This could be where all the warriors train. It could be where all the commanding officers and the instructors are overseeing the those people who are training. So maybe you all want to do it where it's, you kind of have like your traditional first year, second year, third year, fourth year over here in like the West and in the States. I personally like the one first year, second year, third year schooling system. And in this case, since it's a military barracks and academy, it works well. And I decided that this is going to be, this map specifically is going to be this is going to be the map for, or the area rather, for the first years. So as you see here, I created, that's going to be my commissary. Not my commissary, excuse me. That's going to be my Chow Hall. That's going to be where, so this other building, the X-looking building, is going to be the Chow Hall or the cafeteria for other folks out there. That's the mess hall. That's basically where we're gonna go and where we're gonna, if we were first year trainees at this academy, at this military school, we would, all eat there. All the first years would eat at that mess hall, at that, Chow Hall, so to speak. So, and then everyone would train here. All the first years would train at that building. This building, and again, this is kind of loosely based upon some of our real world military bases and some of our academies. Again, loosely based. So for folks in the comment section that might say, well, this isn't correct, or this isn't, in this case, I'm not really thinking that. I'm thinking, okay, and for a fantasy world, what's the basis that I can use from our world, and then apply it to my own fantasy world in my game. But again, this is going to be for first years. Now, going back to what I was stating about Marcus Heights in the Dwarves book, this training camp, this academy, is eligible to all members of the Warsworn Guild. It will also host militaries of different nations. So, for example, let's say that the Dragonborn world of Terracona, right? Project Terracona that I've been working on. The military forces of Terracona want to do some operating, some drills, let's say, some military drills, some wargaming, right? At the academy, they can go ahead and do that. So it's not just open to the dwarves of my world. This camp, first and foremost, is, primarily of the Warsworn Guild, but it's open to all races, creeds, religions, so on and so forth. It's just that this camp is hosted by the dwarves. In my world, the Warsworn Guild has a presence in each major part of the world, of the continent, because after the Great Rune War, so a little bit of history of my world, the Great Rune War was this huge war that basically was fought against the forces of hell against the material plane. It was quite literally a divine war. And after the free people, quote unquote, won the war, because they actually lost a lot of their culture and lost a lot of their history, they decided to create this thing called the Warsworn Guild, which they are sworn to fight the wars of you know, the immaterial plane, the metaphysical plane, so to speak. But here, as you can see, I said, okay, if this is gonna be a bit of a camp of some sorts, like an academy, I'm gonna put some soldiers up there. I'm gonna put some troops that are guarding the wall, that are there, kind of saying, okay, we're on guard duty right now. Um, and again, this section is going to be for the first years, so maybe this could be some first years, um, or maybe some newly graduated uh, members of the Warsworn Guild, and maybe they're just guarding. But anyway, I'm creating the barracks, and again, using the different buildings that Inkarnate offers to kind of represent rank and class. So what you can do is that you can say, okay, maybe this type of building is going to be for the top performers of the first class participants, and vice versa, right? You can do that. But what I'm thinking of doing is that the barracks are specific to the class of soldiers that are there, right? So if they are Warsworn guild members who are paladins, then they all are in the same styled barracks together. So that way they can eat together, they can, live together, they can train together. That kind of ends up being their unit, because they're going to be paladins. They're going to be, fighting back to back. They're going to be doing things of a similar role as first years. Again, first years, there's a structure. First years, you're going to be together as a class so that you can be the best paladin or cleric that you can be, right? If you have that choice. Second year, and we'll dive a little bit deeper into that, but it's going to be a little bit mixed. Now you're going to be working with different classes until you finalize your unit, and then go from there. Like, you kind of want, and again, in the mentality of the Warsworn, you kind of want to build that cohesiveness. But either way, I digress. And now I'm just trying to make everything linear and make everything look good. But I'm also trying to decide where I want to put like a little marketplace, a little commissary area, where recruits can go to trade, to receive their mail, to receive like a raven, to work, other little things that they would want to do. And also a smithy. You're going to want to repair some of your armor, and you're going to want to learn how to do that. So I thought, okay, it'd be perfect if the Warsworn Guild had a little forge like here that people, and again, if you see the detail, there's 2 anvils. So maybe the Warsworn Guild has some dwarves from one of the dwarven nations that is going to help with the, with those, blacksmithing classes. But again, I'm kind of moving things around because there's a lot of unoccupied space that this fortress slash training, training area can take that place. And I thought, okay, well, near the barracks would be a great place to have the forge, because they live right there. And then there's there's the cafeteria, mess hall, whatever you want to call it. I know some people have called it different things. I apologize if I'm not calling it the way you're used to or the way it's supposed to be. Sorry about that. But anyway, so I kind of moved things around to kind of put more barracks, because again, depending on the building structure, that might be where maybe the upperclassmen of the first years, right? The top performers, the top first year performers go to. That might be somewhere where they say, okay, they're rewarded because they're top performers, they're rewarded with nicer quarters. I don't know, something to think about, something to kind of test around or test out with your players. And while you're building your world, that's something I highly encourage you do. I highly encourage you to kind of think about those type of things. Think of how the culture would impact something like this. So in my world, it's not necessarily how you were born. Obviously, like there's some countries and nations that, depending on where you were born or who you were born to, is going to denote your place in life. But in this case, because the Warsworn Guild is a, organization that fights evil, they don't care. It's very similar to the. I'm trying to think. Well, very similar to the Rangers in Lord of the Rings, the Rangers of the North. Aragorn, who was the heir to Gondor, he was a ranger, right? The Brotherhood without banners from Game of Thrones. There were people of nobility there who decided to just, give up that, and they're equal. Um, the I'm trying to think from Game of Thrones, actually. I'll probably be reminded. Actually, they take the black. I'm forgetting right now. Sorry. But either way, you know what I mean. If you remember for me, comment down below with who they are. But anyway, point is, I thought to myself, okay, whatever your creed, race, religion, whatever that might be, you're going to be, it doesn't matter. You're here in the Warsworn Guild. So, again, in this, I'm just kind of creating my first layer. I'm creating my first layer of barracks, creating everything so that way I can add or remove things when I go back to this and review again. But that's pretty much it. I design everything in layers. I have a small intention. Obviously, I'm going to save it because I don't want to lose it. But that's how I act. That's how I design things. I start with the first draft and I go from there and I build it up. And we'll see what happens next time. But thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like this video, hit the bell, the notification bell, subscribe. But as always, y'all, keep gaming.